Do the same. Starting soon. Let's mute that and that.
Actually, yeah, that's.
I'll mute it up. What are you doing?
I'm
Hey,
talking to you, man.
you fuzzy little turd. Get out of there.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm just hanging out here with a friend of mine, Brownling One. We work together, and he has a channel where kind of we get together, or he gets together, and just does a chat about just common everyday things that men. His focus is men, but obviously many of the issues are very broad spectrum. But just things that we want to cover: how to be better people, how to be better men, and how to grow. So today's topic is something that I shared with him. It's an article that I found. I can't remember the guy's name here, Mark Manson, I believe, and it's 7 strange questions that help you find your life purpose. Now, I kind of went through this and filled out the
Jackson, my man, you
questions.
still there?
I am. I was just explaining to our
Fantastic.
lovely viewers here kind of what we're doing, and
Perfect.
just kind of going over that as well. I'm sure you did on your end. So, um,
Absolutely.
I just got to the point where I explained kind of the article that I had found, and then the questions. I had gone through and answered these and showed those to you, and that was something that intrigued you. You wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I have not done my due diligence and gone through and answered the questions yet, but it is something that um, I wanted to be genuine, I guess. So I figured, okay, I'll look at the questions, kind of get an idea, and then I'll answer them right as we go through them.
On the spot, huh?
Um, on the spot, off the cuff. That's kind of how I run things around here. Man, let me tell you, it works about 25% of the time.
I hear you. I hear you.
But I do appreciate you giving me your answers ahead of time. Let's go through your answers again real quick. I'll let you take the reins on first go, and then I'll answer second.
Sure. Uh, is your channel PG here, or are we going
It's
for it?
more or less PG-13. It's the
Sure.
reality of life. It is what it is. It's
You
so
actually
what's
have.
your
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that, Tia. My teenager, man, wow, some of the things they have to hear and put up with in high school, it's pretty
yeah.
crazy. So,
Yeah, so let's just be real.
yep.
What's your favorite flavor of shit sandwich, and does it come with an olive?
I, I wish it came with an olive. We'll see. I'm not there yet. We'll find out. Uh, Basically, the crap sandwich, for me, would be failing in some creative attempt, or a technical attempt of some new idea or thing. While that's always frustrating, I typically learn something nonetheless, and eventually I'll figure it out. And kind of determine that the reward is no longer worth the effort. And what I mean by that is sometimes I get so delved into something that I just get sick of it. I'm tired of it. I'm done. I didn't succeed, but I'm done with this. Period. Flat out. And I used to think of that as I never finish a project when I was younger, but it kind of dawned on me at some point that all of those projects that I quit, I always come back to them. Like it,
Oh, there
it
you go.
never leaves my mind, and I always come back to it. And one way or another, some of them I finished, some of them they're still in my mind. I'm still working on them, you know. And that's something that I will get there. And when you do finally finish it, that's definitely a motivator to move on to the next one and try it
Hmm.
again. Don't give up.
Hmm. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I like that. Let me just take one quick second, Saucy. I actually had a an audio issue. Gosh darn it, my mic.
Oh
I
shoot.
still have an audio issue. Um, and I didn't have my desktop sound going. But real quick, viewers, doing something a little bit different tonight. I got a good friend of mine on the channel with me. He sent me an article earlier this week and said, well, I guess last week at this point, and it's 7 questions that help you find your purpose in life. And I really liked the article, and I wanted to go over it live on stream with him. He just explained, well, I'm sure you heard his portion of the explanation for question one, on what's your favorite flavor of shit sandwich and does it come with an olive. And Jack, I think my I think my favorite flavor
Your
of shit
favorite crap
sandwich,
sandwich.
my favorite crap sandwich. I really like to help people. So every job that I've had, what it comes down to is I find a way to help people in it, but I become stagnant. So I get to the point where it's the same thing day in and day out. And I get bored and I get tired of that. And this line, everything sucks some of the time, really rang with me. It was the idea that you're gonna run into something, you're gonna run into stretches where it's just like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. And that is where I have typically dropped off in my history and found something else to do, or gone on to greener pastures, quote unquote. And the reality of it is it's always the same thing. The pattern repeats itself. And so if I can just push through that time of, okay, I'm bored, I'm stagnant, I need to find something else, or I need to find more of a challenge, um, it will get better. That is my olive, is that it will get better, if I just push on to the next challenge. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. All right. So what is true about you today that would make your 8-year-old self cry?
Sadly, probably a
What an
lot of things.
interesting question.
I was a
I
bit of a
mean, what
crybaby at 8 years old,
what a
so
question. Well, yeah, me too. But like, what an interesting question. You think back and you think, God, if I were to look at myself today as an 8-year-old, what would I not want to become me about?
yeah, yeah, certainly. Uh, hmm. I might have to read this one verbatim. It's a little. Some days are a little harder on that, but really, I don't pretend like I used to. And when I was 8 years old, I would spend hours in my room just with toys or a piece of paper and a pencil sometimes, just
Hmm.
depending on how much trouble I was in. But
Yeah, no kidding.
um, and you would just come up with stories. You'd be up there for hours doing your own thing. You'd have a whole world created in your head that was the best thing ever.
Hmm.
I didn't get to talk to friends all day long. Like a lot of kids nowadays seem to do that, and they have no idea what to do with themselves when it's just them. And I kind of feel with having the family so big and everything, kind of going so fast that I've lost that. What do I
Yeah.
do by myself? So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. The ability of the God, how do I say it? The ability of the mind at that age to create without any sort of inspiration or extra stimulation was just incredible. If I mean, I'm assuming if you were like me, it was just one of those things where you sat down and boom, there's a whole new world at your fingertips if you wanted it.
yep,
So yeah, I can understand and respect that.
yep.
Um,
Kind of the sad part is as we get older, it becomes an embarrassment. Like it's
yeah,
embarrassing to be one creating those kinds of stories.
yeah.
Where
Well,
it
and
shouldn't
it's
be.
it's
Why
funny you
is that?
mentioned that. Yeah, I mean it's funny you mentioned that because you write up a story and people are like, oh yeah, some sci-fi novel, but then you look at people like J.R.R. Tolkien and well, another R.R. George R.R. Martin.
Sure.
These people who have created these massive, massive worlds with their own languages and unique characters and this and that and the other. And if you were to look at them and take them at face value, it's just like, oh yeah, what a nerd. But then you think about it, it's like, dude, these guys are successful. I
Right.
mean, these guys have built incredible stories and given us some of the most epic fantasies that we could. I mean, I couldn't even dream of coming up with the things that Tolkien did. So, I-
Yeah.
well, I mean, maybe I could with the right amount of medication, but yeah, no, I would agree with you on that one. That it's the ability to create. I mean, I was very similar, maybe in a slightly different way. Um, I think if I think about the stories that I used to make up about myself and in my mind, I was always the hero. I don't know if any child ever dreams of not being the hero, but I think what would make my 8-year-old self cry is if I were to go back and look him in the eye and say, "Hey, you're not always going to be the hero, buddy." It's like, oh, well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. That is true.
But maybe that's a good inspiration to make myself the hero in my own story.
Right.
More focus on, well, why am I looking up to these people when I can just be my own hero?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would make me cry is going back and, sorry, kid. You can't be a Jedi. You're gonna be a BI analyst. Oh,
Yeah, but you got to remember
damn
you
it.
are somebody's hero. I mean,
Yes. Yeah, you're not
it's
wrong. You're not wrong.
we
But
can't be Jedi's, unfortunately.
no, that job doesn't exist
No.
unless you're Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. The the nice
Yeah.
thing is though is that was I mean you kind of take that as a segue. That was an inspiration to you to be a hero. Is somebody else's creativity, somebody else's story that they came up with about a hero, kind of made something that hey I would like to be like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I
No,
can't
that's
literally have force powers and a lightsaber, but I can do other things.
I would be willing to bet that Elon Musk is looking into it actively.
If I had his resources, heck yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. Maybe I'm not my hero yet, but I'm somebody's hero. But again, it gives me something to strive for to be my own hero, to be the hero of my story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's something good to keep in mind.
Yeah.
All right, so question 3: what makes you forget to eat and poop?
A lot of things have done that over the years. A lot of
Yeah,
things.
yep, yep.
So,
I'll let you take this one from the go, though. Yeah, I
well,
understand.
when I was younger, it kind of segues to question two. It was reading. It was those stories that others had written that just kind of engulfed your entire existence in that moment. So,
Hmm.
and then of course that led into computer games. For me, it was more first-person story-based computer games. It's multiplayer wasn't too much of an option back then, so
Yeah.
that was kind of also part of it. And then I kind of discovered science, which I thought was amazing because it was kind of like magic, but I could also do it.
Yeah.
So it was fireworks. I used to make my own fireworks, and I would just spend literally friggin' hours out there, all dirty and grimy, making fireworks, and I would totally forget that anything else existed.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, just other experiments. When I started building my own computers, it was what can I do with this thing? And then I went to work with my dad. He had a computer company for a while, and it was more of the
Okay.
same. It was more of what can I do? Or well, the customer wanted this, but wow, what happens if I do this? This is actually really helpful for them. And I would just spend hours trying to make things like that work and totally forget
Hmm.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. That's cool. It's thinking back to when, because now I don't forget to eat. Period.
Yeah.
I I like food, but back when I would forget to eat, what the thing that I was doing was oftentimes just either learning about something or creating something. So, like you say, you get lost in a book or you get lost in a video game. And I've always been kind of a lore based guy. I really like the deep lore that goes along with either books or um, or computer games. And so, like, I was that kid that would read through the book and then pause and flip to the end and hope that they had a map. So,
Hmm.
so I could keep up with the journey and really, okay, okay, this terrain that they're going through, and it's probably summer there based on the attire that they're wearing. I'd get really into it, and that would make me forget. And in video games that I play now, I'm always the guy that goes straight to wiki. Okay, let's see what I missed about this, because I know there's something that I need to know. And it's irrelevant information, but what made me what made me forget to eat and poop was the details. I think it was the details of a thing. It'd get really into it, or if you're working on a project, really disassemble something and really start to figure out how it worked. That would make me forget and completely lose track of time. Was the details, and I you know I'm fairly detail oriented if I like something, and that's my problem. Is I can't convince myself anymore to like something to the point where I want to know the details to the level that I just completely get lost in it. Excuse me, completely get lost in it.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's something that we forget to get into is what makes you completely lose track of time.
Yep.
It's interesting.
It is. It is. You touched on something there that I feel is kind of an issue with like the current education system as well, is expecting everyone to be infinitely interested in all school subjects where,
Mm,
you do need to teach the core. Kids do need to know basic history. They do need to know, basic arithmetic. They need to know math concepts.
yep.
But if there is one particular topic that just really captures their interest, I don't think we capitalize on that enough. Like
I would be willing to agree.
we try too hard to make everyone the same instead of letting different individuals be specialized at even at a young age. Like, yeah, and the specialties may change as they grow, as they get older and their interests change, but doubtful if they're that interested in it at that age and that's what they're going
Yeah.
to focus on. Yeah, they're going to be really good at it by the time they're 30 plus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's an interesting point because we don't focus on anything really anymore. We definitely have a school system that promotes, you're going to be roughly good at all of these things, and then you have these few kids that just naturally get things like math, and they kind of point those kids out like, oh, this kid's so smart, oh, this kid's this, that, and the other. It's like, well, that kid is good at exactly what the curriculum is. Just because the other kids aren't good at that doesn't mean they're not good at something else. I'm not going to, okay, so for example, I'm not going to hire a civil engineer to change my tires or perform an alignment on my vehicle. I'm going to hire a civil engineer to make sure that my foundation isn't moving, but I'm not going to hire one for the other because they're both good at different things.
Sure.
And I'm more than happy to pay them both very well for what they do, but I definitely don't expect a civil engineer to come over and align my tires for me and vice versa.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, and do you pick somebody who's had, 12 years of general schooling and 4 years of well, okay, 3 years of higher education schooling with a final year focused on the actual topic of changing your tires, or do you pick somebody who's been changing tires since they were 10 years old? Like,
Right.
well, I'm going to probably
Yeah.
pick the guy who's been doing it since he's been 10. So,
Yeah. No, that's an absolutely great point. Um, and there are certain things that require in-depth levels of education, focused education.
right,
But I think education needs to look differently as well in that regard, education for hands-on skills versus education for mathematical or physical concepts, they
right,
look completely different.
right. Like, it's hypothetical. You get a kid in school, and what makes him forget to eat and poop would be, say, working on cars, right? Just basic working
Hmm.
on cars. He likes fixing them, making them work. Um,
Hmm.
so he's middle school. By the time he gets to high school, he likes, he's learned how to rebuild an engine, for example. He's really good at it at that point.
Hmm.
And then later on, he's working for a company rebuilding engines, and he decides he wants to learn more about this. It still makes him forget to eat and poop, and he wants to learn how to design his own engines. That's
Yeah.
perfectly acceptable career path and a knowledge progression path for him. Like,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
so,
Yeah, no, it's an interesting concept, especially when you apply it to education and encouragement with our children in how to become a successful adult. I think we get so stuck in the pattern of what the state says that our kids have to achieve. You have to be good at reading, writing, and arithmetic, but it's like, well, what do you like to do?
right,
We don't encourage our kids to go down that path, and then we end up with adults who are in dead end jobs and don't know how to get out of it and
right.
end up reading articles like Seven Strange Questions that help you find your life purpose on Twitch
Yeah,
at 9 o'clock at night.
right, right. Yep. We get into the working world and we are told we can't do, or what makes us forget to eat and poop is irrelevant. So
Yeah,
I don't think we put
exactly.
enough importance on it to kind of circle back around to our topic of discussion here.
Yeah,
I think that's something that just is lacking in our current society, is that it's okay to have things that make you forget to eat and poop, and that those are
yeah,
probably okay things to focus on. So,
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. If anything, we should encourage those.
right. So, moving on.
Moving on. Interesting topic, though. I mean, that question just in itself is a good topic of conversation.
Yeah.
All right. So number 4. How can you better embarrass yourself? This one's fun.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
Hi, internet.
yeah,
Here's my face.
hey everybody. So, I don't know if you can tell, I'm actually pretty nervous here just talking about it, which is silly because
Well, it's
I mean,
this is your first broadcast on the subject, correct?
yeah. I mean, we did the
Okay.
extra life
Okay.
stuff, but that was that. I mean, that's totally
Yeah.
different, and even that was still a little nerve wracking. But
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. It's funny. It gets easier. It does get a lot easier. My first episode last week, where it was just me, it took me about 4 weeks to build up to be able to do that. To where I just, you know what? Screw it. I don't have my full plan laid out, but to hell with it. I'm just gonna do it and let's see what happens.
yeah,
Turned out fine. I
yeah,
lived.
I liked it, enjoyed it,
I mean, I lived through the process, so how bad can it be, right?
right? Yeah,
But
so
yeah, I'll let you go ahead and take this one for what it's worth.
yeah, I mean, just doing what we're doing right now is kind of scares me, right? And what really scares me is combining what I like to do and sharing it with everyone else. Because right now, I look like an idiot about talking about something that I know very little about, but I can just express from my perspective at least. And then I want to move on to doing experiments where I'm having to learn the whole process as I go, and I'm sharing that with everyone else, you guys on the internet, and letting you guys see, kind of my failures, either successes and failures. Always going to be failures first, but
Hmm.
and moving on through that and just pushing through it and trying to do it in as entertaining a fashion as possible. Like I've always liked entertaining people, so
Yeah,
combining that kind of thing with entertaining scares the crap out of me. But that also tells me that's probably what I should be doing. So
yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good point. I think you touched on something that is basically my answer summed up as well, and it's that failure, that point of failure where it's just like, crap, I didn't succeed in that, and it's public.
right.
It's like walking into the women's restroom. There's no taking it back. There you are. There's somebody washing their hands. Like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, oh,
Whoops.
oops. And in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, it's no big deal.
Right.
I okay. So like today, I sent an email to a Carla instead of a Kara. And I'm like,
Oops.
here's what I'd like to go over, blah blah blah, very department specific stuff. And she
What?
gets back to me within like 2 minutes. I think you're looking for Kara. Oops,
Yeah.
I
Hey,
sure am.
would you look at that?
It's would you look at that? Yeah, and it's just like it's okay to fail. That's my biggest thing is realizing that it's okay to fail because that's embarrassing to me. Like I want to be the guy who knows what they're doing and the guy who knows what they're talking about. And I realized this a little while ago, but if I'm okay with embarrassing myself, how do I put this into words best? If I'm able to laugh at myself, nobody else can laugh at me and make me feel any worse,
True.
right?
Yep.
So like I go on the I mean, for the first 2 minutes of the stream tonight, I had no audio. It's not something I'm going to stop and cry about. It's like, oh, I'm a doofus. Oh well.
Yeah.
And that's embarrassing. I mean, it could very well be embarrassing, and it's good reason to stop the stream. I'm done. I'm not making any money off this stupid thing anyway. I'm just gonna throw in the towel. But I don't want to do that because I want people to be able to see somebody fail. I want to see, that's the whole point of my channel is self improvement from a first person perspective. Like, hey, it's okay to be an idiot. It's okay to fail 1,000 times as long as you get up 1,001. It's okay to laugh at yourself
Right.
throughout this process, but it is not okay to quit.
Right.
So that's my goal is to better embarrass myself by failing actively, live and in public.
Yep. Yep. And right along there with you, I've always been the guy who knew stuff. I don't know why I knew stuff, but I knew stuff, and sometimes I was dead wrong. Like I would tell people some things that I thought was
Mm-hmm.
accurate. I didn't mean to be incorrect, but man, was I wrong. So putting that out there like that is I'm going to start a project and I'm going to start it on entirely the wrong foot, and most people watching are going to probably know that, hey, that's not right, dude. That's the
Hey.
wrong way to do this. And later on down the road, I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna have to totally backtrack and be like, hey,
Yep.
so what I did there, yeah, don't do that. that
Well,
was
and
that was wrong.
yeah.
So
Well, that's part of the learning process. And if you're okay with, if you already know right off the bat, if you've set the precedent for yourself that it's not going to be perfect, then it opens up a whole realm of possibilities.
yep,
If you're willing to fail, it opens up a whole realm of possibilities.
yep.
So, no, I think that's a really good point, Jack.
So
So, number 5. How are you going to save the world?
well,
I I
that's
just
a big pill to
love
swallow.
I love this though. In case you haven't seen the news lately, the world has a few problems, and by a few problems, what I really mean is everything is effed, and we're all going to die.
He is not wrong.
No, he's not.
uh,
He's not at all.
yeah.
I'll let you take this one again.
Well, I can't save the world in every aspect. And Mark, he talks about that. He definitely says there are definitely things you can't fix, but
Yep.
it's not up to you to
Yep.
fix all of them.
Yeah.
What can you do? So for me, I'm hoping that I can inspire others to be creative, to try things, to experiment, and to be wrong, right? I mean, that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about. To not worry about it, to do your due diligence, to research and to learn, and when you're wrong, to backtrack and to correct and to self-reflect and to not get stuck in your presuppositions and to move
Yeah.
on, to grow.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's very accurate. Very cool. Very cool. Good points. I think this one for me, it's more of not how am I going to save the world. It's how am I going to save myself.
mm,
And that's kind of that's why I wanted to start this channel was, um, I'm not going to be able to. I can't save everyone. I can't even save those around me, but I can save myself. I can make a positive impact on myself. And by doing that, give the people around me a better version of myself to live with.
yeah.
And with the life that I've built, that packs more weight than it used to. So, I perform a lot of roles. I was thinking about all the different hats that I wear, if you will, but father, husband, those are the two biggest ones, and then coworker. BI analyst for my company, kind of a cornerstone of information resources, if you will, for the company I work for. Active sportsman, mentor to youth in the sporting community. The list goes on, but it's like, man, I touch a lot of different areas of life, and so if I'm going to save anything, it needs to be me, so that all these different areas are going to be impacted simply by me making changes to myself that make me better. So I can't save the world, but I can sure as hell make myself a better person for the world that I'm affecting.
Well, you just got to save the cheerleader, save the world, right?
Save the cheerleader, save the world.
Sorry,
That was
bad
such a
segue.
great God, that was such a great show until it wasn't.
Oh, the reboot was horrible. It was
Oh,
so
I didn't
bad.
even touch the reboot.
Tell me
Like I
about
got
it.
most of the way through, I think it was the first or second season, then it's just like, okay, this is dumb.
Yeah. Yep. It totally
Yeah.
loses track. But
It bombed. But yeah,
yeah.
going back to it, how are you gonna save the world? My
Right.
personal opinion, I'm not. I'm gonna save me.
Yeah. But
And I liked what you said.
to kind of clarify to everyone, anybody watching, we're not talking about saving your soul, right? We're not saving humanity and
Oh
for
God, no.
eternity, right? Saving
It's
yourself
toast.
is working on yourself. It's bettering yourself, building yourself up, and just being the best version of you that you can be, right?
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah,
rely on
absolutely.
beyond ourselves for our souls, which to each their own,
Yeah.
their opinion about that. We'll be happy to discuss that in other
Mhm.
avenues, not today, but
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely. That could be an interesting topic for conversation.
yeah.
That one could go for a long time. That's a multi-episode series. But Yeah, I like what Mark says here in his article. So pick a problem and start saving the world, and there's plenty to choose from. It's so find a problem you care about and start solving it. And for me, it's just being better for those around me. That's where it starts anyway. We'll see where it goes. We'll see what I really get riled up about. But for now, it's just save me and then let that impact those around me.
Yep. Yep. I hear you. So.
And it's a lot tougher than I thought it would be. Let me tell you.
Yeah. We could just sum it up. Life is hard.
Life is hard. Life is hard, man.
Yeah.
I'm convinced it doesn't get any easier either.
Yeah.
That's all right.
You're absolutely right about that as well. In improving yourself for those around you. I mean, I say that I want to inspire creativity, but the one person that I really think about every time I say that is my son. So I want to inspire him to be more interested and interactive with the actual world around him. Where right now
Yeah.
he's very interested in cartoons, which is great. Cartoons are funny, but also video games. But it's to the point where he excludes other things. So I kind of want to. Yes, those are fun. Those are awesome. But dude, look at this. Look what happens if you put a little effort in. You actually put a little work in, and see what happens. It's amazing. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great. I don't want to focus on it too much because I could go on a tangent forever on this, but that's an excellent point that I subliminally think about. But it's if I'm making myself better, what kind of example am I setting for my kids? What's the example? Like you said, the example that you want to set for your son is being able to do anything if you set your mind to it, and that kind of takes me back to one of my tweets. Tweets. Oh God, it's going to be a medical condition here before I'm done with it.
you
But
Twitter.
Twitter.
I told you to see the doctor about that.
Twitter, whatever this is. God damn it. So, last week I tweeted out self-improvement thought of the day. Don't be afraid to kick life in the squishy bits. Put it in a headlock and make it do your bidding. If we want it, we need to aggressively go get it. And I want my kids to be able to look back and go, you know what, my dad, I want to be like my dad because there is nothing that can stop that guy. He is annoying as hell, but there is nothing that gets in his way when he decides what he wants.
Right.
That's what I want my kids to take away from this and from everything else that I do is, man, my dad he's a nice guy, but don't get in his way when he wants something. So, yeah, no, excellent point on doing it for the kids and giving them something to look up to. And the original question was, how are you going to save the world? And it's interesting topic. All right, number 6. Gun to your head. If you had to leave the house all day, every day, where would you go and what would you do?
For me, this is easy. It's where I went when I was a kid. It was to the shop, essentially. Outside, to the garage, to do stuff. Or at the computer, of course.
Yeah.
Which is just my digital shop. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So
that's very true.
Yeah. Anywhere with physical or digital tools that I can, in my own words, I wrote this, that I can dick around and make shit. That's all I can sum it up to be. So I still like to do that, and I just don't take the time to do it. So
yeah.
I mean, for example, at one point when I was a kid, I spent, I would say, a week or more probably taking apart a weed eater, just detaching the weed eater motor and then trying to attach that to a scooter, like the scooters that actually have real tires.
Yeah, right.
Not like this stupid razor crap kids have these days.
Yeah, those didn't count.
Right. So
I know what you're talking about, though. I know exactly what you mean. I had one.
Yeah. No, they were really, really fun, actually.
They were beastie.
I took it up to McCall on a church camping trip. And at first, they're like, "What in the crap is that?" And then by the end of it, I couldn't get them off of it. We're just off-roading on that thing all over the place.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Because to go off on a tangent, just a short one. There was a a rollerblading party at the church one time. You used to go to Deer Flat, and everybody got together and brought all their tired, anything with wheels, bring it out, skateboards, roller skates, scooters, bikes, this, that, and the other. And I brought this big, clunky off-road monster, and I was embarrassed about it. I'm like, oh my god, I don't have the cool Razor scooter that all the other kids have. I'm gonna get made fun of.
Right.
I couldn't get that thing back at the end of the day. Like, dude, you guys got to leave my scooter alone. I got to go home.
Yep. Yep.
Give me my scooter back. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's the big tires, man. The scooter, or the Razor, you're limited to smooth concrete, and that is about it.
Yeah.
Get some big tires, you're going anywhere, anywhere you want.
Can't stop me.
So,
Oh, that's funny.
yeah, I had to have been no older than 12, and I'm trying to put a motor on this scooter so that I can just ride the thing around, right? I failed, but
Well,
being an adult now, yeah, I still want to do it.
bet you wouldn't fail now and have me a 14 horsepower turboed monster.
Exactly. Put a supercharger on it. What the heck? Come on.
Oh my god, why not, right?
So, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. I really think if I could get my son involved in it, that would really capture his attention and be like, wow, I can actually make this kind of stuff on my own if I work for it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting. It's interesting that you say that. I don't know. I honestly don't know what I would do if I had to leave the house all day, every day, and go somewhere and do something. I really, I've been thinking about this, and excuse me, I don't know.
Yeah.
I, uh, I, it goes back to, what was it, question two, where I get bored with stuff. I get to a certain point in any project, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just gonna move on. I get complacent, and then I'm done. But I honestly don't know on this one. Gun with my head, if I had to leave the house all day, every day.
I think that's one of the reasons I pick kind of a shop scenario is I do the same thing, right? I really get into something. I get obsessed with it almost, and I do it so much that eventually I get sick of it. I'm done. I'm tired of it. But in that kind of a setting, you just switch gears. You do something else. You make something
Yeah,
else. Or I come in and I sit on the computer, and now I have a totally digital shop that I can play around with and do totally new
that's
stuff. So
yeah, no, that's fair, and I think that's a good point. Honestly, if I had to leave my house every day and just go do something, I think I would just walk. Leave the house, put on my good shoes, and just walk and see where the day took me.
yeah.
If that meant helping out at Safe Harbor, our local women's area, going into Salvation Army, see what they need help with for the day, going and working on a project. If I get involved with helping out with the Boys and Girls Club, I think I would just walk and see what the day brought. Just go for an adventure and see where it goes. So I know that's really broad, and that's not very uh, closed-ended answer to the question, but I honestly think that would be what I would do if I had to leave the house every day and just go do something. It would just be go into the community and see where I could either help or get myself into trouble. One of the two.
Both.
Both at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. That's really good.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not very pointed, and it's not a very closed-ended answer, but just go for a walk,
Yeah, I don't think it needs
see
to
where you
be
end up.
too specific. So,
Yeah.
yep. Last
7.
one.
Yeah,
All
wrapping it up. If you knew you were going to die 1 year from today, what would you do and how would you want to be remembered?
So I kind of answered the last part first, and you touched on it earlier, and it was my answer is to be I would want to be remembered as the most interesting man. Right? Kidding, sort
Okay.
of.
Yeah, the most interesting man in the world.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I would
Stay
want to
thirsty,
learn.
my friends.
I don't know what that was. It's weird.
It was me drinking a Dr. Pepper is what that was. You knew. You knew I was drinking my Dr. Pepper at that time. You're like,
I could
man,
feel it.
That telepathically tastes fantastic.
I'm shaking my head, man. Shaking my head. uh,
Oh shoot.
that there
So
total sidetrack here.
hey,
There's a
hey,
comedian, Mitch Hedberg. You
okay.
should look him up about his Mr. Pibb skit.
Mark Hedberg,
Mitch Hedberg,
Mitch Hedberg. Okay,
Mr.
Mitch
Pibb versus
Hedberg.
Dr. Pepper. It's pretty it's pretty
Okay,
funny.
I'll look him up.
All right.
Mitch Hedberg. I'll write the name down real quick. Perfect. Okay, we'll give it a look after this.
All right. So back to the question.
Back to the question.
Um,
Now that we're done laughing and we're contemplating our death here, such a stoic question, you know. If you were to die 1 year from today,
oh,
what
what is
would you
this?
do?
Is this a movie? If you were to
It's like,
die 1 year
if you
from
were to
today.
die. It's like, no, it's just such a stoic question, right? Like, I'm contemplating my own death, which I actually think is very healthy, but it's a interesting topic to just get thrown into, you know?
Isn't it? Yeah. That's interesting you say that it's healthy. There was a documentary that Rosa and I went to when she was at C of I. That
Okay.
the whole point of the documentary film was how we as Americans and a lot of first world countries completely avoid the topic of death. Like
Mm,
we don't talk about it. It's just something that's awkward. People don't want to acknowledge. Like we all know we're going to die, but
yeah.
nobody wants to acknowledge that it's gonna happen, and
Yeah.
maybe trying to postpone it for as long as possible isn't the best approach. It's not the most comfortable. It's not.
Right.
It's almost oh, I forgot the word, but like sticking your head in the sand. I guess there's a word for
Yeah. Yeah.
that.
No, it's being a peacock, right? Or not a peacock, an ostrich, because ostriches are known to do that, right? They stick their head in the sand when danger comes around, but then they still got that big fluffy butt sticking up in the air, like, "Hey, look at me!"
Right. And that the point of it was, we grow old and then we go to a nursing home and then we get sent to
Hmm.
the hospital when our health continues to fail, and they do everything they can to try and extend that as long as possible. And
Yeah.
maybe that's not the best approach. Like historically speaking, that's not what humanity has done, right?
No.
You grow
God, no.
old
Well,
and your family comes to join you. Your family is there with you when you're
yeah.
old. It's obvious that you don't have a whole lot of days left.
Well,
So
right. And then you die. When your body's ready to die, you don't keep it alive. You die. You
typically,
keep yourself comfortable maybe, but that was about it,
yep,
historically anyway.
yep.
It's
And
interesting you mentioned that
yeah,
because I've kind of, and I'm not trying to jump in, if you have a thought you want to finish first,
no, by all
feel
means.
free to cut me off. I've kind of so with I played God of War, and it just blew my mind for a video game. But the topic that comes up is Valhalla, and we talk about, we obviously raise money for Children's Miracle Network under the team name of Valhalla, and it really has gotten me thinking about the culture that was Norse mythology and the Vikings. That Viking culture of a good death, and you go even farther back to the Spartans and how they relish the idea of somebody being able to kill them. Like, that's a good death. To find somebody that bests me is a good death. And it's got me thinking, so what does a good death look like? And this question is a perfect, way to lead into that. It's like, what does dying, one, what does it mean? And two, how is it impactful? How can I make my death mean something? Because like you say, I can't avoid it. I'm going to die. Period. We're all going to. Nobody gets out of this alive.
Right.
So, how do I make my death impactful? And like I said earlier, if we have a revolution and I go out swinging, hey, that's okay with me. But in this case, if I knew I had 1 year to prepare, what would a good death 1 year from today look like? It's interesting. It's a little bit morbid. It's definitely along that line of stoic thought, um, but it's almost freeing, I guess, when you start to think of it as the inevitable end to all
Yeah,
things and accept it as let's make it good rather than try to shy away from it.
right, right. Yep. I mean, I keep laughing because you're saying a good death and all of these, the Norse, the Vikings, and everybody. It just makes me think of Klingons from Star Trek. Because historically, that's exactly what the Klingons were based on.
Oh, okay. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, I was never a Trekkie as much as I should have been. But yeah, I get the culture.
So,
It's yeah. Come back with your shield or on it.
yep.
I like that. I like that saying. Either do or
Today,
die trying.
right? Today is a good day to die.
Today is a good day to die. It's like, yeah, cool, man. That's cool. You know, you've decided that this is it, and you're gonna do the thing and you're gonna go down in history for it, or you're gonna die trying.
Right,
And that's a good death. It's like
right.
interesting. God, what a way to live, you know? Just to square up, stick your chin out at life and say, bring it and see what happens. God, it's so cool.
It is, and there are other ways to do that in today's society. Like let's say the worst doesn't happen and we don't have a revolution, and you and I just get old.
Yeah.
The thing
All
is
right.
is we
Cheers to
don't.
that.
Like, ah, man.
Me.
Well, best case scenario, we have a peaceful revolution. We get our
Yes, that
country
would be
back a
ideal.
peacefully way,
That would
but
be ideal.
I don't think that's gonna happen. But anyway,
Yeah.
side point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation that we could have.
Um, so back to what I was saying is
Hmm.
you live your life, when the end has come, and the point is that you don't shy away from it. You don't put it off at
Yeah.
all costs. And your relatives in today's society are going to want to do that because it's so heartbreaking and it's so heart-wrenching that they're not going to want to see you or let you go. But
Yeah.
it's that they need to be their whole perception needs to be changed as well. Like it can't be
Yeah.
avoided. So I might as well go when I can still remember who you are, when I can be with you as part of the family, and we can enjoy these last times together, and we can reminisce about all of these things that I taught you and that I got to do and that made me, in my case, the most interesting man to my family, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. That's a good answer. You know, so in my mind, what would a year look like? I think for me, it would be two things. It would be one, setting up, preparing. You know, I want to leave behind as much of a setup as I can. So the first half of the year, I think it would look like me teaching my wife everything I've learned that's let me build the family into what it is so that she's ready for me to be gone and try to impose or not impose. God, that's the worst possible word I could pick. Try to instill the mindset of you don't need me. Like I'm finally getting to a point where I'm realizing that I don't need my wife to be happy. I love my wife being there. I choose to have my wife there because she makes me happy. But it would be the first half of the year would be teaching her everything I've learned through life that has allowed me to build the family that I have, and to teach her to be self-reliant in everything. And then the second half of that year would be teaching my kids as much as I possibly could about the realities of life, the realities of death, and the idea that they can be anything they could possibly want to be. Maybe not anything, but there's no goal that's out of reach as long as they're willing to make themselves do it.
right.
You know, there's nothing that they can't do as long as they're willing to put in the time, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears that go into it. That's what I would try to spend my last half of the year doing, is just teaching my children, leaving behind that legacy, I guess, if you will.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah,
Yep.
so that would be my year. You know, first half would be focused on my wife, second half would be focused on my kids. And how do I want to be remembered? The guy that tried. You know, that I think that's how I'd want to be remembered. Is man, he tried. He
Uh,
didn't always win, but man, he tried.
yeah. He gave it all. That would be
Yeah.
not just the guy who tried, but the guy who gave it everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Like Leonidas, he didn't win, but by God, he tried.
He made everyone else wish he'd won.
he he made a lot of people very upset.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
That'd be good by me. But yeah,
yeah.
no, that's an interesting topic to end on is if you were to die 1 year from today, what would you do?
Does it start
And
getting
how would
nice?
you? Uh, I would hope so.
Well, are we
What
doing
would you?
old Keanu
What would
Reeves?
we do?
What would we do a year from now? How would I want to be remembered?
Exactly. Oh, that's good.
So
That's good.
I, I have to say, new or most recent Keanu Reeves is pretty darn good. Like
it's
John Wick.
John Wick is
Holy
about
crap.
the only thing he's done recently, and it's been good, man. It's been solid.
Yep.
They're fun. They're just over the top. It kind of reminds me of The Punisher, honestly, the Punisher TV show, where it's just like this is off the top, ridiculous, but okay, we're going there now. Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, cool, man. This has been
Well, yeah.
a
I
fun and
appreciate you
interesting
taking the time
conversation.
and yeah, going through those questions with me. It's definitely interesting. Thinking of it a little bit differently or answering these questions that help drive us in the right direction. I think our channels will benefit from it for sure.
Yep.
And I appreciate your time tonight, bud.
Yeah. So when do you want to do it again? And really, what topic? I mean, you kind of mentioned one
Oh,
earlier
shoot, man.
today, but
Yeah, no, I've got a few different topics to go over. I think for now, I'm going to do 2 sessions a week, probably one kind of a solo monologue, and then the other having a guest on the show. So probably you want to shoot for same time next week. Mondays have a guest on and go over some of life's greatest topics.
yeah, it got pretty deep today. Sorry,
Oh,
everybody.
let me tell you, we got a little bit deep. I'm okay with not. I think we put way too much weight on. Okay, this is going to be a deep topic. Everybody, strap yourselves in. It's like, you know what? Yeah, it's going to be deep, and we're going to talk about some serious stuff, but we're not going to take it that seriously. I think we get so caught up in like stoicism, for example. If you were going to die 1 year from now, what would you do? It's like, no, what if you were going to die, if you knew it was coming and you're cool with it, what would you do? Like, what
Right.
are you going to go have fun? Are you going to try to set up for the future? Are you going to sit in a corner and cry for 9 months? It's like, that's stupid. That gets you nowhere. So yeah, I think we approach these questions just like we did today. We approach some of these subjects, these really heavy subjects, with some good humor, and we get a lot further than, all right, let's sit down and really contemplate this. What would Socrates say? Like, who cares what Socrates says? Here's what I'm going to say.
Right.
you know. But yeah, if you don't mind, let's plan on next Monday, and we'll kind of see where it goes, where the channel goes from there.
That sounds great.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time, and if you need anything for your channel, please, by all means, don't hesitate to let me know.
Sounds good. I might need a few a pair of hands on some projects. So
Perfect. I'm good for holding stuff and holding flashlights.
sounds good.
I'm that guy. I gotcha. I usually don't even get distracted for like the first 15 minutes too.
Oh well, perfect. I mean that's
Yeah, yeah.
that's all it'll
I mean,
take. 15 minutes.
after that, I'm gonna start looking in the trees for whatever. But oh shoot. Well, you have a good night, bud, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Are you busy after this? Because I might. No, I'm probably just gonna kill the stream. Actually, it's already 9:45. This actually
Yeah.
went. This was a good length of time.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Call it good.
Yep.
I got a little bit of homework to do before sleep, but yeah, that's about it
Excellent.
for the day. So I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thank you very much. And
Yeah.
let's
Thank
definitely
you.
do it. Let's do it next week.
Perfect. Sounds good. Same time, same place.
You got it.
All right, bud. I'll catch you later. You have a good night.
You too. Bye. Thanks for joining in, everybody. I know it was a little kind of weird, especially for me, first time doing that kind of thing, but I hope you enjoyed it. Some of it was pretty deep and kind of off the wall and a little sidetracked here and there, but it was a fun thing nonetheless. So that article that I'd found, it really did help me kind of put things into perspective and where this channel is going to go, and really that this channel is what I wanted to do. And by this channel, I mean, Get Saucy is a Facebook page that I've created for an upcoming YouTube channel, and there will be a few other media outlets on that as well. And I think that's all I'm going to say about it right now. I will put together a full, complete explanation video of what to expect and what will be coming down the pipeline, and then and that's going to be fun. I hope you all enjoy that, and I hope you all stick around. And yeah, that's about it. All right. Good night, everybody. Love you all.